charada! Hoje não tem detona, mas é por uma ótima causa. Nosso OK Team foi falar com a incrível e queridinha do OK, Melanie Martinez. Vamos ver o que essa boneca Pin-Up 50s tem pra nos contar?
Growing up in Long Island, in Baldwin, it was like any other small town, like, just alright. It definitely, like, shaped who I am now, like, all the experiences growing up in, like, high school and stuff like that, just, like, what I dealt with and, like, with, like, bullies and stuff like that, I think that, like, really shaped how I am now and, like, yeah. I always wondered, what it would be like to, like, go back and, like, meet people who, like, made fun of me for certain things, and, like, I've never actually done that. Although there's one person that recently I ran into and was probably, like, my biggest bully in my mind, and I recently, actually, he just was, like, at a music video shoot that I was doing, because his dad was working there or whatever, but he was really sweet, and, like, we're friends now. In his mind, he probably doesn't even know, like, he probably has no idea how that affected me, but, like, and in my mind, I'm like, oh man, this really, like, hurt me, Now he's, like, grown up, and you could tell it's just, like, kids pick on each other, and, like, now I know that, but then I was, like, really hurt by it and stuff. My dad, listens to, like, everything, and I think that that's kind of how I started listening to music, and I always sang. I always loved singing since I was little, and I always wrote poetry, and eventually when I was, like, 14, I started kind of putting both together, and, like, I played guitar, and I started, like, writing songs, kind of like forming little songs, and then eventually it got to the point where, like, that's all I wanted to do was, like, write music, and now that's all I want to do. So, yeah. When I was 16, which is when I auditioned, I don't know, I kind of just saw, like, an ad online, and I was, used to, like, singing in my bathroom in Long Island and, like, writing music by myself, and no one could ever hear me, and just playing for my friends or my family or whatever. I don't know, I just saw, like, a little, like, thing on the computer, and I went to the open call, and it kind of got further and further, and I had no idea how it was going to turn out or how far I would go. I was just kind of excited to just, like, explore something new and, like, go do something new, and I was in high school, so it was really exciting for me to, like, go to Los Angeles and not have to be, in school, because I hated school, like, it was fun. It was definitely a great experience. After The Voice was kind of hard. During The Voice was hard for me because I'm a songwriter, and singing other people's songs didn't, fulfill me. I didn't feel like that was something that I wanted to do, So afterwards it was really hard. I would play shows, and a lot of people would be like, sing Toxic, and I'd be like, no. I'd just be like, no. Eventually people, got the hint, and when people started coming to my shows, they were more excited to hear original music, and that really made me excited, and that's when I started kind of really focusing on writing, my EP and my album. I was really inspired by Toy Sounds with this album, and that kind of led into the direction of, like, focusing on the idea of kind of writing these children-themed songs, but having, like, a darker and, like, more mature message behind them, and I really loved that contrast, and that was something that I was really excited to, like, continue to do, and then eventually it got to the point where, like, I realized, like, this character that, like, was me, but, like, I didn't realize that I was doing it, I didn't realize that I was, like, talking about myself. I was kind of just, like, I don't know, it was interesting, but Crybaby is basically based off of me, and it's kind of just, her story, and we're very similar, but we're very different in our story, so, like, the way that we handle things is the exact same way, or the way that I think I would if I was in her situation, but there are a lot of things, like her getting kidnapped by the big bad wolf and, like, poisoning him with milk and cookies, and I obviously didn't go through that. I think, actually, when I was younger, the songs I would write were a lot more dark and heavy, and they were really, really intense to listen to. Like, they weren't covered up by the whole, like, childhood facade. It was more just, like, the core. It was just all dark and all, like, whoa, okay? Like, it's not something that, it's like, it was very, like, folk, and, like, it wasn't pop, and it was very, very different. It was me on my guitar writing, like domestic violence, like sex trafficking. I was always, like, interested in kind of making people aware of things that weren't talked about a lot in music, and then eventually I kind of just started clinging to Toy Sounds, and then that led to, like, thinking of themes that kind of related and kind of just, like, built into this. Johnny in the music video is Brazilian, yes. And I had no idea that he was Brazilian until he came to the shoot and he had an accent, and I asked him where he's from and he told me Brazil, and I was like, that's crazy because I'm going there soon. I asked him if he could teach me anything so I could like say it at a show, you know, and like say hi and stuff, and I just like totally forgot. It was so hard. It's like, it's a really hard language to learn. I mean, at least for me, I don't know. I'm really bad at learning languages, so I don't know, but I want to learn one day. I love horror movies. I think that my favorite classic horror movie is probably The Shining. I would love to direct a horror movie. That's like probably one of my dreams eventually as I get older, you know, and I don't know, maybe even like incorporating music with that into like a film and stuff. I love making videos. I think it would be really cool to make a movie one day.
E essa foi a darkinha e sensacional Melanie Martinez.
Hi, I'm Melanie Martinez, and you're watching OK OK. Please subscribe.
I feel it coming down my throat. Guess I better wash my mouth out with soap. You can wish for another post. Now you gotta subscribe down below. I feel it coming for some more. Guess you better subscribe here below. Now you gotta subscribe down below.